Hey everyone, my name's Caitlin and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. Today, I am going to be doing the Holmes is Where the Heart Is book tag. So I recently saw a book lover Amanda do this and it looked like a lot of fun, so I just decided to go ahead and do it as well. So this is a tag that is drawn where each of the prompts is drawn from things in relation to Sherlock Holmes stories, which I will be honest, I have not read any Sherlock Holmes yet, but I would like to someday at some point. But I know that the answers to the questions do not need to be Sherlock Holmes books, so that is awesome. So I tried to do answer all of these questions with Christian romantic suspense books. There are a couple that don't have as much romance in them, I think, but for the most part, they are romantic suspense, but they're all Christian books. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. Okay, so question 1 is, Elementary, my dear Watson, share a classic mystery novel you consider a must-read. So for this one, like I said, I haven't read any Sherlock Holmes. I've only read one Agatha Christie so far, and that was Murder on the Orient Express. And I really enjoyed it very much. Also highly recommend the audio, narrated by Dan Stevens. He does a fantastic job. So yeah, but that's the only Agatha Christie I've read, and that's not the one that I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend what would be considered like a contemporary classic, because I think it was published in 2000, but in my opinion, it's a classic of the Christian romantic suspense genre, and that is The Negotiator by D. Henderson. This is one of the first romantic suspense books that I read, and it is fabulous. It's awesome. This is the first book in the O'Malley family series, and it's a found family series of these siblings that are all orphans that met at an orphanage and adopted each other, chose to be a family even after they grew up, and they created their own last name, which is O'Malley, that they all share. And yeah, and they all work in public service in some form. And this book is about Kate, who is a hostage negotiator. And yeah, it's fantastic. I loved it. I will say though, just a trigger warning for you, if cancer is particularly triggering to you, you might want to stay away from this series. That's all I'll say. But otherwise, highly, highly recommend the whole series. Okay. The next question is, or prompt, is Baker Street Irregulars. Recommend a book with a group of unlikely heroes or a diverse ensemble cast. Okay, so for that, I am going with Lights Out by Natalie Walters. This is book 1 in the Snap Agency series and has a incredible, incredible diverse ensemble cast of characters that are just, they're amazing. I just love them so much. Yeah, they come from all different backgrounds, different nationalities, all different personalities, and yeah, it's just such a fun group and great time. So highly, highly recommend you check out the Snap Agency series by Natalie Walters. Okay, prompt 3 is The Game is Afoot. Name a book that had a plot twist or revelation that completely surprised you. Okay, so for this one, I am going with Mind Games by Nancy Mell, which is book 1 in the Kaylee Quinn Profiler series. Now, this book, I will say, I was not surprised by the villain. I guessed the villain correctly. That did not surprise me. But I will also say, without spoilers, there is another revelation at the very, very end of the book that I did not see coming, that did shock me. So, yeah, that's all I'll say about that. Okay. Prompt 4 is 221B Baker Street. Talk about a time you visited somewhere of literary significance. I don't have anything for this. Yeah, there are lots of places I'd love to visit, but I don't travel much. So yeah, don't have anything for that. Okay, number 5, Moriarty's master plan. Discuss a book where the antagonist was exceptionally cunning and memorable. Okay, so for this, I'm going to talk about Secondary Target by Angela Carlisle. This is a new release. It just came out in April? Yeah. Or May. I forget. It came out recently, and that's really bad because I was on the launch team for this book. But it came out just recently, so it's out now. You can get it. It was fantastic, but yeah. The villain is one of the creepiest and most cunning and most, I don't want to say too much, but unsuspecting. Yeah. So I did guess correctly who the villain was, but it was, yeah, it's a crazy roller coaster ride. So highly, highly recommend this. Okay. Number 6, The Art of Deduction. Mention either a book that kept you guessing all the way to the end or one where you guessed the outcome earlier on. Okay, for this, I'm going with When a Heart Stops by Lynette Eason. This is book 2 in her Deadly Reunion series. And yeah, this one, I guessed who the killer was fairly early on. And yeah. Yeah, so I'm, you know, always an armchair detective, and I love it when I guess correctly. But yeah, I will say this one is definitely super suspenseful. One of my favorite Lynette Eason books is this one. And yeah, and I love the heroine, Serena, and the hero. He's awesome too. So yeah, highly, highly recommend this whole series. All of Lynette's books. You can't go wrong. Okay, 7. The Hound of the Baskervilles. Talk about a book with a strong atmospheric setting or one where the setting plays a significant role in the story. Okay, for that, I picked The Killing Tide by Dani Petrie. This is book 1 in her Coastal Guardians series. It is set in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, and the characters, the hero is a Coast Guard Investigative Service officer. And yeah, so I mean, look at it. Obviously, you can tell the setting plays a huge role. They're Coast Guards, obviously. They're on the coast. So yeah, and yeah, this is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend it, as well as all of Dani's books. So yeah, this one's great. Okay, 8. The Reichenbach Falls. Talk about a book series you thought had ended, but made a surprise comeback. Okay. For this, I'm going to talk about the Elite Guardians series by Lynette Eason. This series released from... I should have prepared better for this. (2016) to 2017. And I read all of these books as they came out and thought when book 4 released that was the end of it. And it was, until a couple of years ago when Sunrise Publishing picked it up and released a continuing series of them. So this series is about a group of female bodyguards, and it's a romantic suspense series. Obviously, it's Lynette Eason, and it is fantastic. So we have Always Watching, which stars Olivia. Without Warning, which stars Katie. Moving Target, which stars Maddie. And Chasing Secrets, which stars Haley. And then a couple of, I think it was 2 years ago now. I could be wrong. I'll look up the dates and put them in there if they're different, but I think it was 2 years ago. Sunrise Publishing launched the Elite Guardians collection, which the first one featured 3 books, 3 authors that were mentored by Lynette, and books set in this world following secondary characters from the original series. So Driving Force by Kate Angelo is the first one, then Impending Strike by Sammy A. Abrams, and Defending Honor by Kelly Underwood. Then so I read all 3 of those and absolutely loved them. Then they did a Christmas novella collection that followed the 3 characters from each of the books in the Elite Guardians collection at Christmas. I have not read that one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And now they have begun, I think the first 2 books are already out, and the 3rd one comes out in October, the Elite Guardians Savannah. So all of these have been set in, I believe it was Columbia, South Carolina. And I'm pretty sure that's where it is. I'll tell you if it's, I'll put it on the screen if it's different. But they've got a spin-off series set in Savannah, Georgia. So yeah, I'm very excited to read those as well. So yeah, that answers that question. Then 9, Sherlockian adaptations. Discuss your favorite book to screen adaptation of a retelling or a classic story. Okay, so my favorite is by far, as far as suspense goes, there's really not very many that I have seen, but Her Stolen Past by, yes, Lynette Eason. This is one of Lynette's love-inspired suspense books, and several years ago was made into a Lifetime Movie Network movie, and yeah, book and movie are both fantastic. I loved that it was adapted, and yeah, so highly recommend. Then, number 10, last question is, The Great Detective. Recommend a book with a brilliant and memorable protagonist. So for this, I have to recommend, it's really more of a thriller series than romantic suspense, although there is a thread of romance through it. But anyway, I'm recommending The Patrick Bowers Files by Stephen James. I love these books so much. My recommendation is start with The Pawn, because it was the first book that was published. And yeah, so my recommendation is to read them in publication order. But yeah, so Patrick Bowers is a FBI agent. He is an environmental criminologist. And he does he's brought in to help catch, serial killers and other serial offenders. And one of the things that he does is he does geographic profiles of the killer. So instead of like a behavioral profile, he creates a profile of the geographic area in which the crimes occurred and uses that to help work backward to try and figure out the home base of the killer. It's absolutely fascinating. Stephen James's books are incredibly fast-paced, and yeah, I just love them. They're always thought-provoking, and I learn so much, and yeah, they're such an incredible series of thrillers. They really are. They're fantastic. I love them so much and highly recommend them. They are not for the faint of heart, that I will say. But yeah, and if you don't like the killer's point of view, then these might not be for you. But if you are into thrillers and that's your jam, then definitely check these out. There is, in all of them, Stephen James is a Christian author. The first 5 books in the Patrick Bowers Files were originally published from Revell. So there is a light faith thread, but it's underlying. It's not super overt, but it's still wonderful and beautiful, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, highly recommend that you check them out. And so yeah, so that's the end of the tag already. So yeah, I'm not going to tag anybody because I'm not sure who has already done this and who hasn't, but if you're watching this and you want to do it, consider yourself tagged. So yeah, this was super fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry it was kind of, a little bit shaky and off the wall, but hopefully you enjoyed. Yeah, so I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!